love the fact that 30,000 years ago they're being criticised for being a bit literal.
No, but surely if all you ever see when you step out the cave is a yak, do something different on the wall for when you get in.
What?
Why is it always a yak on every wall?
Is it always a yak?
It's always a yak. Whenever you see these Tom Robinson Time Team programmes...
Who's Tom Robinson?
He's the guy who did Motorway, isn't he?
Yeah, and a 70s singer-songwriter. Tony Robinson, you mean?
Tony Robinson, whenever you see him digging around, they say, hold up everyone, get the brush, what's this? It's always a yak. Yet they pretend they're interested.
So you're saying that you wouldn't have, you'd have been, no, I'm not going to draw a yak, I just saw a yak outside.
This is what I'm saying to you about trends. One person has it, the next caveman goes, I'll have one of them on my wall. I'll do a yak. Why was there no one just doing something a bit different?
Well, it's not true. They did. It's not true. This thing about it's yak.
It's just in your own head.
The programmes I've seen, I've been to Pompeii, where they had doodling on the walls, and that was all like knobs, tits and arse, all over the shop. Now, do that now, people go, that's a disgrace, rub that out, clean that, get it down. Whereas now, if you see one in Pompeii, they go, oh, look at that, look at the detail on that. Well, that's what I'm saying, this snobbery in art, it's the same knob, the knob has not changed.
Yeah, but I imagine in 50,000 years' time, if they dig up, a cubicle and there's tits and arse, people will take pictures of it again.
Won't they? This is the interesting thing with the way we live now. We're cleaning stuff up constantly now. There's no almost no record of our time because we're getting rid of everything. We clean everything up. Everything's clean. Getting rid of rubbish. Recycling everything.
Well, that's a very good point. Is graffiti a valid art form?
Some of it is.
I think it is, yeah. I mean, we're not talking about the classic spunking dick, which is still, it's still great, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if
you see a lovely clean white wall and you see a spunking dick on it, you're going to laugh.
Always laugh. Do you add hair to the testicles when drawing a spunking dick?
A few. The testicles.
It's always clean. My testicles are always clean.
Really?
Yeah,
I put the 4 or 5 bristles sticking out straight.
See, I always thought that was a kind of commoner version.
It looks like mine looks like. I don't mean my real one. I mean my
your illustrative.
Yeah. It looks like 2 gooseberries and Thunderbird 2.
Do you add much detail at the tip of the penis?
No, it's a straightforward. It's dissecting across, just a line across to show the helmet.
Yep.
Then one little line for the eye.
Do you tend to keep the same number of droplets coming out? Droplets.
I do 3, but I don't do the line. I actually do the little teardrop. Droplets. Yeah. And that is the spunking dick. As
when I was at school, it was referred to, and this may be specific to Bristol, it was referred to as the sacred. I've just drawn a sacred.
Oh, really?
I don't know where the origin of that was.
Some graffiti is funny. I saw one in London. It just said, Rachel is a big-arsed, big-chinned cunt. Now, I think Rachel's going to see that and know, I'm the only big-arsed, big-chinned cunt round here. I don't know how big her chin was.
Sure.
I think of her chin maybe looking like the arse.
Yeah.
It's like the big arse out there, but maybe she couldn't see the last part of it because the chin was in the way. Rachel is and that's
now,
all
where
she
was
could
this
see.
graffiti written?
It was in near Centre Point.
So, do you think someone was so angry with Rachel?
Maybe Rachel nicked this woman's fella.
Right.
And she went out.
Yeah, and scrawled that.
Yeah.
In a lot of different places. I saw one that was something, I think it was back in Bristol, it was something like, Michael Peters is gay. And I always wondered if that was Michael Peters himself, who was having trouble coming out of the closet. And was just writing that in a number of different places, so that by the time he finally mentioned people, they went, oh yeah, I knew that anyway, I saw it in the toilet.
Sculptures. What do you think of sculptures? I mean, because that's something that really is getting into the 3D world there, isn't it? No longer do you have to represent something as 3D, you can make something, the statues are amazing, aren't they?
They're clever, aren't they? I mean, they always look the same.
Well, that's not true, is it? Because recently there was quite a controversial one, a huge one, in London, the pregnant thalidomide woman. What do you think of that?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Thoughts?
I wouldn't have it in my house.
Well, there wouldn't be room because it would just be you, Suzanne, and a pregnant thalidomide watching telly.
I don't know what he was trying to say. It's
Maybe she was saying, okay, we've had the human form. This is an example of the human form.
yeah, but do you think she started off trying to do normal, and it was like, oh, I've chipped a bit off?
One of the arms got chipped
Well,
off.
it makes you wonder, doesn't it? And why? You see that square, Trafalgar Square. You've got that. Nelson's column, he had a patch over his eye. Then you've got the thalidomide. Why can't they just do a full person?
Well, that was what they saw. That was what the artist saw.
It's about confronting us with certain preconceptions of what we expect of the human form, what we expect of sculpture. It's probably a little ironic comment as well on the famous Rodin. It's wrapped up with all kinds of ideas of maternity, of the human form, of what sculpture is. Why wouldn't you put that in a big public place?
What about the subject? Did you think who's that subject? Who is that woman?
No, not really, because thalidomides are around, and we've all seen one. It's not like a shocking image. It's one of life's little things that it chucks out. There's some out there, so it's not
Amazing.
shocking, is it? I don't understand what you mean. I think what I thought is, it just goes to show we're sort of running out of ideas.
What do you think of people who are so angry at art they try and censor it or they try and destroy it? Do you think art should ever be censored?
It's where you put it. If it's in a gallery, then it doesn't have to be censored. If it's in Trafalgar Square, where everyone's wandering around having a nice time, you don't want a 12-foot cock. So it's all about where you put it. I think some art looks better because of where it is. Angel in the North, that's a bit of art, but it's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? You're driving along a miserable motorway.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that over there? Gives you something for your eyes to look at again. Motorways are the most boring place to drive. But you go, oh, look, there's a bit of art over there.
Yeah, but
Stick that
then
Angel
again,
in
should
the
you be
North.
looking at art when you're going at 70 miles an hour along a motorway?
Well, yeah, because it's really big. You can keep your eye on it, and
Look in the mirror.
It's not a problem
Wait till you go past it and look in the mirror like normal.
So you like the Angel of the North,
because it's something in the middle of nothing.
right? But if you put it somewhere else,
Stick it in Trafalgar Square, you'd go, oh, more clutter.
now you've spoken, Carl, about art and what impact does it have, blah blah blah. And as Ricky's just pointed out, of course, in some instances, art has been considered incredibly controversial, very provocative, and has been banned. Famously, one thinks of the Nazis banning and burning certain books, not all of which were just books, criticising them. It was often artistic works, things which they felt were subversive in some sense, and you get that in many repressive regimes where people's artistic work is not allowed to express the way they feel about something. Stalinist Russia, for instance, art there, literature, are not able to express its views because people see it as dangerous, as provocative.
Well, yeah, the threat always comes from scholars with like any dictatorship, and they know that.
But not just scholars writing, scholarly texts, criticisms, but also people expressing themselves through poetry, through creativity.
Well, yeah,
things which are not
expression's
direct.
dangerous, yeah.
They can be abstract, and yet they can still be subversive.
Yeah, but I think if it's done in a way that isn't just like a lunatic, they get away with it. Like a nice poem, some people would read it in a different light. I might read it and go, I don't even know what they're going on about there. So, as long as it's done clever, get away with it, don't they? So it
No,
makes the
often not
artist
the
better.
case, but that's not often not the case. That's
Well,
what I'm saying. Often in these regimes, these things are repressed.
No, but there's always like code words and that you can use and they can't have you on it.
Such as?
I don't know. I'm not into that sort of work.
Right,
Well-
so you've just made a statement there, but it's not backed up with any actual
No,
information.
what if you
Well,
do
there
it
was
in
a
a
good
clever
point
way?
there. No, there was a very good point there. The McCarthy era, where he was threatened by communism infiltrating the country, and he thought that entertainers might be a part of that, the conspiracy. It was a hotbed, and he made everyone come forward, writers, actors, say they're not a communist, and some people were out in the cold, and so people had to be a bit cleverer, like was it Arthur Miller, The
Arthur
Crucible? It's a metaphor. It's about witch hunts, but it's about the McCarthyism. So yes, good point. You can put coded messages
CB
into
radio
art.
was the same thing.
Go on.
Well, it's all the codes. As long as you've got
okay.
codes.
Well, I thought you had. I mean, I was trying to make your point sort of more valid than it obviously
No,
was.
but if you need to refer to CB radio, that's the obvious.
Well,
the obvious
that's what I can
justification.
relate to.
Sure.
Yeah, we've done this. There's no point in CB radio. They go. How many candles are you burning? What? How old are you? 8. Okay, yeah. I mean, there's no point to those codes at all. You know.
So this is in no way relatable to The Crucible. Why would you be talking about one of the most respected plays of the 20th century, and suddenly this in your head reminds you of CB radio?
Just having this code going on that only certain people know how to break.
Everyone knew it.
No, it's
pointless.
Not back then. They didn't.
Pointless. I remember we were shown the cartoon version of Animal Farm when we were about like 15, 16. We were discussing it afterwards about great, communism versus the poor proletariat and all this. And this bloke went, "You lot make me sick. It was just a nice film about some animals." Brilliant.
Yeah. What's your take on that, Carl? No, go on. What's your point? Because you can see the irony there, can't you?
I haven't seen it.
No.
If you want to do a serious point, don't use animals.
No? Well, I disagree with you there because we're going to get onto literature later, and I think my favourite is probably Charles Dickens, and I think the greatest story ever told is A Christmas Carol, and there's only one way that could ever be improved, and that is a Muppet Christmas
That's
Carol.
absolutely right, yeah.
So, and I think that you could, and I think people could take a lesson from that and maybe do other films with the Muppets. A Muppet Schindler's List.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make it so moving, couldn't you?
Schindler's List in space. Yeah. Well, I think it would certainly help bring that story to a wider audience.
I think so.
A lot
Yeah.
of people who, like Carl, who were put off perhaps by the depressing black and white of it, they would suddenly see the Muppets singing and dancing.
Miss Piggy's Choice.
Miss Piggy's Choice, yeah.
Have we talked about that?
What?
About things like that in art as well. 'Cause I think that bringing something so serious to the masses, like films do, things like the Holocaust and like Sophie's Choice, where she has to choose which child lives and dies.
Why does she have to pick?
Well, because the Nazis were horrible, nasty, evil people.
Well, which one did she pick?
I don't think that's the point. I don't think that's the point.
I love the idea that
this is not a betting game.
No, but I imagine this is like Deal No Deal. It's kind of you're down to the last two. Which one are you going to go for?
God. But why did you ask which one did she choose? Because even if he'd said the names, Robert and Alison, what difference would it make? You don't know the story. Why is
No,
it
because
that you've
then I'd
said...
ask more then. If he said Alison, I'd go, what was it with Alison? What did she have over Robert? That's what films are meant to do. You question it. Whenever I watch a film with Suzanne, I always say at the end, what was going on there?
That's because you're an idiot!
Christ!
That's because you've just watched Muppet Christmas Carol and you can't understand why a frog's able to talk.
I'm all for films with a good storyline.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's a perfect point. One extraordinary point.
He's gonna follow this up, mate. He's gonna follow
He's got
this up.
something there. He's got
Come
something
on,
here.
Carl. Go on then. What's your
No.
take on films?
Films are really good. You can get lost in them.
Right.
And
You like one with a good story?
I mean, whenever anyone asks, it's always the same. It's Elephant Man. It's Kez. Mission Impossible 2.
Mission Impossible 2. These are the what you consider great works
No, I'm
of
just
film
saying
art.
these are ones that I've enjoyed recently. There's so many films that I haven't seen, yet you always say, "Oh, have you seen so and so?" You
Well,
love
Mission
it.
Impossible 1.
And there's good news for you. 3's out.
That's true. One of the most striking art exhibitions that I ever attended, Carl, was an exhibition of outsider art. Something I'm sure you're very familiar with. Outsider art, of course, is work that is made by people who are often institutionalised for mental health problems, or they are just incredibly, the people who aren't in any way part of the art establishment.
Well, they're right up to psychopathic murderers, clinically insane mass murderers would count as outsider art. I went to an outsider art exhibition in New York. It was incredible, and I bought a painting of this guy. He's a chronic schizophrenic, and he paints in tar, like road tar that he gets from roads, and he paints in that on wood he finds in sort of skips, and it's incredible because it's sort of like scratched in, and it's amazing. There's this thing of Jesus being helped down off the cross, and you have to study it, but it's there, and it's quite incredible that it's just scratched in this wood by tar. And there's loads of things that I was walking around. Admittedly, I was walking around there going, "This is fucking mental," and Jane was going, "You've got to stop saying that," because of course some of the people are mental. There was one bloke doing a sculpture of a skull, right? And underneath, it was like a little head with his teeth. Underneath, he'd put a sign that said "real teeth." Where did he get the real teeth from?
What I think's interesting about that is how much therapy it provides for these often mentally unstable people, which is another important value of art, of course. People's self-expression, people being able to give a little piece of themselves through their work. Do you not see any value in that? How do you express yourself?
Whistle.
You whistle.
Yeah, I found over Christmas I whistled a lot more than I usually do, and I think that was just freedom.
What do you mean freedom?
Right,
freedom.
expand on this point if you would.
Well, that's what art is, isn't it? It's you being free of all the world's heaviness on your shoulders.
See, that's a great quote. That's great. That for art is freedom. I love that because I think you've really hit on something there.
Would you
I know what you meant. I know what you meant there.
Would you include that one in it?
I mean, I would include the world's heaviness in my freedom. You know, some artists are attracted to the dark side, the heaviness of the world.
But I just want to return to you whistling as your artistic expression of freedom. I mean, why did you find yourself whistling more?
That's what was weird.
So just take us through a typical day. When would the whistling begin?
So this was that you spent Christmas down in Kent with Suzanne and her parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I suggest something? Your freedom was thinking, I'm in my own place now, I'm going to annoy them.
Well, it was mainly, it's when we were playing Scrabble. And they were taking ages to have their go, and couldn't have the radio on because the boiler affects the radio. It works, it just gives something off. Every time it kicks in, the radio goes all staticky.
Right.
So I just was sort of supplying the soundtrack.
I think you've really hit on something there.
Would you include the free of all the world's heaviness?
Well, I know what you meant. I know what you meant there.
Would you include that one in it?
I mean, I would include the world's heaviness in my freedom. You know, some artists are attracted to the dark side, the heaviness of the world.
But I just want to return to you whistling as your artistic expression of freedom. I mean, why did you find yourself whistling more?
That's what was weird.
So just take us through a typical day. When would the whistling begin?
So this was that you spent Christmas down in Kent with Suzanne and her parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I suggest something? Your freedom was thinking, I'm in my own place now, I'm going to annoy them.
Well, it was mainly, it's when we were playing Scrabble. And they were taking ages to have their go, and couldn't have the radio on because the boiler affects the radio.
You've got boiler problems down in Kent as well?
It works, it just gives something off. Every time it kicks in, the radio goes all staticky.
Right.
So I just was sort of supplying the soundtrack.
And what kind of things would you be whistling?
It was like, I just sort of did a whistle medley. It was going from one thing to another.
A Wedley.
And a man was impressed. She was like, "Oh, you can whistle, can't you?" So, yeah. And then she was saying, "How loud can you go?" I was just doing all different levels.
Sorry, this sounds like a scene from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The boiler's setting off the radio. I can whistle. Oh, you're a good whistler, aren't you? Oh, let's grab out. Talk about outsider art.
I love the fact that Carl's life is like living in a home. When you're in your 80s.
Yeah.
But you felt that this was your way of expressing yourself.
I just found it odd because I don't whistle that much. I think just because I think I'm fed up most of the time when I'm in London. And you don't whistle when you're fed up. Whistling's a happy thing. You never get an angry man suddenly breaking into a
well,
whistle.
the people who aren't whistling are usually pissed off. But yeah, the bloke who's whistling, it's like, it's the least. He's the least annoyed person in the room when someone's whistling. Same as holding a drill. The only person that noise doesn't annoy is the bloke who's drilling. Everyone else wants to punch his face in. Same with whistling. Whistling, there's no point in whistling.
No, there is.
No, there's not. The only point to whistling is in a bloke's changing room. Everyone's whistling, going, "I'm not looking at your cock." If I'm whistling, I can't be looking at your cock. Anything else? There's no calling a dog, maybe. Calling a dog.
It changes the atmosphere.
Yeah, it annoys everyone else.
Don't know. I mean, our window cleaner was known as, like, you know, that's how you knew he was there. He always whistled. And in the end, he fell off his ladder, broke his front teeth,
Oh.
retired.
Well, because he couldn't whistle.
That was it. It was like,
Well, yeah, he
can't
whistles
whistle,
all the time.
can't whistle,
Well, yeah.
can't clean windows. It's a bit tragic.
Could he take along a whistle? Just pop that in his mouth.
Yeah, I suppose he could have done. Didn't think of that.
What about a flute? Or a recorder? Not London's burning again. Fucking clean the windows and then fuck off.
He didn't really think this through, did he? He retired at the age of 28. And his whole family were bankrupt.
With no teeth.
Yeah.
And just a
Why
bucket and a
are you
squeegee.
working, Dad? Because I can't whistle.
I can't whistle anymore. And if the day you give up whistling is the day I give up window cleaning.
So you never whistle?
No.
I can't really whistle very well. No.
I don't whistle, but I can whistle better than that.
What, you did this for hours on end while playing Scrabble?
About 2 hours.
2 hours?
Wow.
Put my word down.
And
then-
this, sorry, can we just hear that again? Just hear, can we hear it?
So you
But
were
that
whistling. You were whistling after you had your go as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
Fucking hell, Carl.
But hang on, let's just hear a bit. That is Carl's self-expression. That is his artistic self-expression right there.
A name, no tune, no nothing.
There's mental patients who have smeared canvases with shit who have expressed more than you have in that.
Yeah, but it's not about other people. I'm not there to please other people.
You're there to annoy him.
What was the best word you came up with in Scrabble?
Don't knock me out Scrabble, because I do alright. What's weird is, when I play Scrabble, my brain can come up with words that I don't normally say.
Okay, this isn't... No, I'm intrigued here. Your brain can come up with words you wouldn't normally say.
Just words that I'd never drop into a sentence.
Tree, cat.
Go on.
Squirm. That's using a cue. It's worth 10, that. It's not bad, is it? No, I'd never say that.
I've never heard you. I don't think I've ever heard you say squirm. No. I don't think you're right, Carl. I've never heard you say squirm.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is weird.
And yet your brain popped that one out.
And then, yeah, when it wasn't my go, just... Anyway, so that's sort of doing art for yourself as opposed for other people.
I don't think you can count what you just did then as art. Hobby maybe, craft, pastime. I don't think you can count that as art. I'm not being funny. I'm being a bit snobby here, but I think there's a difference between Beethoven and squirm. There's a cue in that.
No. Classical music. I wish I was more educated on classical music. That which I've heard, I've adored. I genuinely find it challenging because it is so spectacular. It is so of another place. Where do you sit with classical music?
It's good. It's good for background, I think.
Right.
See, I, you know me. I like a song with a story, and there's nothing going on in them. That's
Now the problem with that is, how many times can you hear the same story?
quite a lot. How many times can you watch the same film? Same thing, except it's shorter than watching a film.
Yeah, but the film goes into the story with more depth than a 3-minute song.
Yeah, but there's also, do you know, like when you watch, what's an example? Say, I can't think of a film.
Yeah, there's not many.
No, but a moment in a film that it doesn't matter how many times you watch it, you go, I enjoyed that bit.
Godfather swings to
Well,
mind.
say, no, over Christmas on the buses was on the movie.
Jesus.
When-
You went
when-
with The Godfather, you went with On the Buses. I mean, Brando, Varney, I don't know which is better.
It was the bit where, like, the toilet blows up after chucking a fag in. That's had paint in it.
Right,
I've
sorry,
seen
that's in All the Buses. That's not in The Godfather. I can't remember that. Maybe that's Godfather 2.
Well, the thing is, I enjoyed that bit and I knew it was coming. It's like, oh, I'll just watch this before I nip out and put the kettle on. Let's just see this
How
bit.
many times have you seen the On the Buses film?
Probably about 4 or 5 times.
Sure, why not?
But all I'm saying is, music is there to sing over.
No, it's not!
Music is there to sing over.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. Music does something to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know why a chord can say something to you. I don't know, mate. Gives you that feeling. I'm in awe of it. I'm in awe of musicians.
Yeah.
My favourite piece of music is 5 variants of Dives and Lazarus, right? And there's a bit there where it hits this chord, and I can't listen to it when I'm away from home because I well up. It reminds me of everything. England, just it does something to me, and it does it on a level that I can't sort of quite understand. It's just immaculate.
I just
Again,
don't think you can
few things are.
beat a decent vocal on top of that.
Oh, that's amazing!
My mum's got a CD of Roger Whittaker, right?
Right, whistling again.
Now, he whistles Jealous Guy. Now, the thing is, I can't listen to that and whistle along. I end up singing Jealous Guy on top of it.
So, singing trumps whistling.
Yeah, when someone else is doing the whistling.
Okay.
I like whistling, but if someone else has did that first...
So
then
if
I'm
Roger was
singing.
singing Jealous Guy, you'd be
I'd probably
whistling.
whistling it. To make the classics live on, I'm surprised someone hasn't gone, I can add to this, and dub on a bit of vocal.
So you would have classical music with lyrics.
Just for people who
Beethoven's
want that.
Fifth. Beethoven's Fifth. That would be better to you. That would.
But what are you meant to do with it? What do you do when you've got that on? Then do you whistle along? Or
No,
do
I
you
don't whistle along.
hum?
I just, I let it. Oh,
Do you
Carl,
whistle along?
I just don't know what to say.
Why are you obliged to whistle? That's the only way you can enjoy music, if you can whistle along.
Well, that's the same with anything. A good song, you join in, don't you? It's like, oh, I like this one.
No.
So by that token, YMCA is one of the greatest of all tunes.
I mean, it's not one of my favourites, but you can't knock it. It certainly gets the crowd up. I did DJing, and
Why do you care
that
about
was
the
more
crowd?
popular.
Who are this crowd?
Well, I'm just saying.
Who are this crowd that you have to live in your head with? Fuck the crowd. Most of them are idiots.
Although, admittedly, if I was doing a wedding DJing set, I probably would do YMCA over Vaughan Williams.
And why is that? Because it's happier-go-lucky. It's done in 3 minutes. Classical music goes on for ages. It
No, it's a
fades
good
out,
point.
Who's got
fades
time?
out, it comes back in again. Well,
It's a good point.
it's all over the shop.
Are
Yeah.
you going or are you staying?
It's over time, and I'm not saying we should get rid of it, and I might grow into it, because I think that's music for older people.
Well,
You're an idiot.
I think Mozart would disagree, I think he did his first symphony when he was 5 or 6. Probably playing piano and writing music before you could read.
When did the piano come out when he was a kid?
What do you mean?
If it was trendy to have a piano when he was a kid, it's like how kids now, they're messing about on Google at the age of 2 because the laptop is new. It's new to us. To them, it's like, oh, it's Google, innit?
What's your point?
Because he was born at the right time.
Beethoven.
Yeah, he was
No,
born.
Mozart. So you're saying
Mozart.
that all 3-year-olds around the time of Mozart were brilliant?
There would have been quite a lot of them. Mozart, Beethoven, all that. They're all Handel. They're all around the same time, aren't they?
Just guessing. Wild stabs in the dark. Just names he's heard. Just names he's heard. So when Ricky was young, when I presume Rolf Harris's stylophone came out, everyone was composing on the stylophone.
Yeah,
weren't they?
exactly.
It's all what you brought up with, isn't it? Nothing's hard if you're given it when you're a kid. Nothing's difficult. You can be taught all sorts. I haven't got room for a piano. It's too big for a pastime. A hobby shouldn't take up a whole corner of a room.
It's so limited, isn't it? His scope, his imagination.
But a piano, the idea that a piano in a house would be a frustration and annoyance.
Music.
That you could play
harmony.
But I'd worry about annoying other people with it. as
No, you
well.
don't. You whistle when you're playing Scrabble. You don't worry about annoying people at all. I'm sure people would rather have gentle piano music in the background than squirm. Squirm. So one of the earliest and most celebrated art forms that's, along with painting and music still going today, is the play. And of course, the most famous and celebrated exponent of that is our very own William Shakespeare. Some say maybe the greatest literary genius in history. I'm not a fan,
Right.
and I'll tell you why I'm not a fan. One reason and one reason only.
Sure.
Nothing to do with the structure, his themes, fantastic. The pun.
Right.
Oh, I can't stand the pun.
Yeah, but I mean, although Shakespeare did include a few puns in his work, I don't think you could.
No, I suppose it's the people
It's
that
not
have
gonna
taken
bring
on
you
the pun. It just reminds me of a bloke in a beard and a pipe at a party doing puns. And it's things like Shakespeare, things like take their maidenheads, and you have to look at your Brody's notes to go, okay, cut off their heads and take their virginity. Oh, brilliant! You can't. It's like you can't explain a joke in retrospect. You don't laugh if you then explain to you.
I'm going to have to take issue with the idea that Shakespeare was not a truly great master of our language.
I think he was.
If you listen- if
he
you
added
listen
to the language. He invented words, or at least he stole words and changed them. But he took them from other languages, which is totally valid. And he made up loads of sayings that are still around today. And there's a poetry in that, inventing new. Actually, Carl, you like sayings, don't you? Got a list here of some of the sayings and phrases that Shakespeare made up. Really, in a pickle was his.
Yeah.
And we know what in a pickle
Yeah,
means.
we know what it means. It's a saying I'd never use, because when you're in a pickle, it's not something that you would say.
No, if you're being if you're captured and you're being tortured for information,
Yeah.
you wouldn't, and you get access to a phone, you wouldn't go, MI5, I'm in a pickle. You'd be screaming, going, he's taking my teeth out.
Much as I love Shakespeare, is when that play was first staged and someone said during the play, "Ooh, I'm in a pickle," did the audience understand, or were they baffled?
Or was it like watching Ken Dodd when he goes, "Yumbunctious"?
Exactly.
Oh, terrible hilarious.
Yeah.
So Shakespeare is about as good as Ken Dodd.
That's what we appear to have established. While you've been talking about that, I just was looking on the computer at the Pun of the Day website, because I feel I take much of what you say about puns and agree with it. There's a couple that you might like. There was a sign on the lawn at a drug rehab centre that said, "Keep off the grass."
Okay. Now, if the pun is the lowest form of wit, and let's face it, sarcasm isn't. Sarcasm is up there compared to the pun. Then the drug pun, I think, is one of the lowest of the low. Oh, people who congratulate themselves on getting drug references. Keep off the grass, will you? Grass, get it? Grass. No, smoking the grass. Yeah.
Show me a piano falling down a mine shaft, and I'll show
A-flat
you
minor.
a flat minor.
Oh God. Okay. Good. Okay.
Do you get that?
Well, these are. I mean, that sums up puns, isn't it? It's things that kids get in a cracker. I think pun should be short for punch him in the mouth.
Idioms are better.
Go on then. What's an idiom? Is that a new word you made up?
No,
That's not-
Carl
know.
Pilkington's a complete idiom.
I found out what it was because I thought, I like them. What are they?
Right.
And it's like little sayings
Yeah, that's right.
that sum stuff up.
Go on, give us an example of your favourite.
I can just say one. Talking about sayings, Carl was getting fed up with something. He was fed up with not getting replies from something. He's having a hard time. And I went, "Oh, the worm has turned." He went, "What?" I went, "The worm has turned. You've."
Stupid saying, isn't it?
No, okay. Tell him why you think that's a stupid saying.
Because how do you know when a worm's turned? Of all the creatures that you could flip over and know it's turned, why pick a worm? It's the worst thing they could have picked to express something turning.
But you're turning literally. It means changing, doesn't it? Changing your attitude. A new broom, turning over a new leaf.
Yeah, but
things
then
are going to
use
be
something that
different now, and
changes.
I'm sick of it.
Chameleon.
No, but
Chameleon is a brilliant thing to use for something to change. Chuck that in the sentence. There's nothing that you can link a worm to human life to. You're talking about something it's blind, isn't it? It's blind, deaf.
gay.
It's got no features.
Why is he having such a go at a worm?
Just because it's a weird thing to use. Something that its arse is more. It does more than its head.
That could be said of you, Carl, to be fair.
We've talked about what art is. We've talked about painting, sculpture. We've talked about music briefly. We've talked about whistling over music to make it better. Poetry, a completely different type of art form. There, Carl, what's your thoughts on poetry?
I've never really been a fan of it.
There's a surprise.
I think it's sort of it's all right for the person who's doing it. You say that whistling is just for the whistler. But I think poetry's more like that, because sometimes you read it and you're thinking, what's he going on about? It's always a bit, I don't know, it's sold in a bad light. It's a bit sort of gay, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, it
Okay.
depends what sort you're talking about, because maybe there's poetry out there that I haven't heard.
There's some poetry gayer than others.
Yeah.
War poetry can't be gay, can it? That was
I haven't
people
heard. Go on.
fighting in the trenches. They were writing to their sweetheart. I don't know his name. Might have been a bloke. I don't know. But
So was it a sort of a, what sort of poem was it? Was it sort of a limerick, sort of a?
no, it was.
like-
It was. Well, there's famous ones, Wilfred Owen and Sigrid Sassoon, and they're very moving. They're about what usually happens is that they talk about why are we here. This is, we've been sold a lie here, and they really started seeing war in a different light from their point of view in the trenches. Famously, some of them died soon after the,
I
they'd
prefer
written the poem.
a proper letter. No sort of crypticness. That's the problem with
Right.
poems.
Okay,
You
so
read
you'd
it
have been disappointed to get Dolce et Decorum S through the post, would you? You'd have just said, what are you trying to say, mate? What's the weather like? When you're coming home? Did you get my socks?
Well, yeah, sometimes life is a bit like that, and it's like, say what you mean.
Right. Well, then you have just wiped all art off the face of the earth if you literally just say what you mean.
No, I'm just saying in a letter. Say if I was a woman and my fella was fighting in a war.
Right. What's your fella's name?
Harry.
Okay, so Harry, let me get this right. So when were you married?
About 1935.
1935. So you've been married about 4 years.
Yeah.
Harry, why don't you go off? Oh, you're a woman, aren't you? You don't look like. Okay. So what did you see in Harry? Why did you like Harry? Was he
He just was like funny.
butch?
He wasn't that butch, but that
No.
didn't matter back then, did it? In the war,
No. And
he took
you.
everyone.
But what did you say when Harry had said to you?
Well, I thought it was coming because a lot of our friends
Right.
ended up on.
Did you just hug him and say "Don't go" or something?
No point, because that would have just made it tough for him. So, what's the point? Just go with it.
But if he
I
had
cried
written,
after he went.
you cried after he went.
That's what you do, innit? You wouldn't do it in front of him. He's got to go to battle.
Okay, so your man goes off to battle.
Right. Then I get a letter from the Colonel saying, "Oh, bit of bad news. Harry's dead." Now I get a letter in the post.
He said what he meant, didn't he?
Well, yeah, and they would do, wouldn't they? They wouldn't
Yeah.
fanny around saying, "Oh, he was on the warpath and the cloud went dark." I go, "What? Just tell me what happened. I don't want a weather forecast."
He got shot up the arse and the bullet came out his head.
Right. Now, the Colonel, he would just tell me the basics. Now, because he sent his by
Telegram.
telegram, they sent a telegram. The letter I get from Harry has been stamped, so I get it late.
Oh, okay.
So I get a letter from Harry after he's died.
Yeah.
Right, and you know he's dead.
I know he's dead, so I get
Right.
this letter with his handwriting on. I'm
Yeah.
devastated because I was just getting over his death.
Yeah.
It's all brought back to me when this letter drops through the post.
Well, yeah. 3
Right.
days and you're pretty much over it.
It's
Yeah.
Harry's handwriting.
Yeah.
Oh God, what's this?
What's
now
he
I
written?
open it,
Yeah.
and instead of saying things are bad here, socks are damp, everything's grim, it's cold, I'm sick of it, there's a poem. It wouldn't feel like it was from Harry.
Well,
Because it's not in his words. Poems are never in the person's words.
But did you know Harry was a poet when you married him and made love to him
No, I
that
only
night?
picked it up because other people were doing it. Something to do in the trenches.
But when he carried you over the threshold, Carl, and he laid you down and gently kissed you, didn't he say any? Didn't he ever show you?
He must have whispered some sweet nothings into
No, it
your
wasn't
hysterical
like
red
that. It
head.
wasn't
No,
like that. Straight
no.
to the point. He was like, "Get your knickers off."
That's one of the weirdest fucking scenarios I've ever heard. Why the fuck was the telegram coming before the letter? So specific. It wasn't like Harry. The fuck's Harry? Oh God! Oh God! There are a few things gayer than poetry, though. I want to throw one into the pot. The continental breakfast.
Oh.
The continental breakfast. That annoys me when I see it. Who orders that? If you've got the choice of eggs, beans, burger, chips, sausages,
Bacon.
all that, you've paid for it already. If I was a waiter and someone said, "What do you want for breakfast, mate?" and the bloke went, "Oh, I just have a little bit of grapefruit juice and a croissant," I go, "Do you? Do you want some cum on that? Or you can go back to the hotel and suck a cock?"
Yeah.
So
No, I'm with you there.
What else is gayer than poetry? I remember when I was at school once, right? The worst thing you could be growing up was gay.
Yeah.
In school, it was the worst thing. It was and I remember I was about 14, 15. I was talking to this bloke. I talk about him on my stand-up. David Beasley. He's the one that said if you get captured by cannibals, they show you pornographic pictures when you're in the pot, so you get an erection. There's more meat to go around. So he was an idiot. He made Carl look smart.
Wow.
Really.
Wow.
he said, you know that thing that kids always do, what would you rather be, blind or deaf?
Yeah.
We did that, and we discussed that for a while, and he went, what would you rather be, blind or queer? And I went, well, I'd rather be gay, because...
Still got all your sights, yeah.
And he went, oh, would you? I went, well, yeah. Well, rather than be blind? I said, yeah. I said, also, if you were gay, you'd like being gay. He went, I wouldn't. I went, no, you would. I said, if you were gay, you would like being gay. He went, I wouldn't, Gervais. Sounds like you would. I went, well, if I was gay, I would like being gay. He went, well, I wouldn't. And he looked at me accusingly, and I went, no, nor would I, but gays would. Which made no sense at all.
Right, yeah.
Just
yeah,
the idea.
yeah.
But this is just like such a stonewall that I'd rather be anything than gay.
Yeah.
Carl, thoughts? Blind or gay?
This is about art, is it?
So there you have it, our comprehensive and definitive guide to the arts. Next in this series is philosophy.
Well, I'm looking forward to that one enormously, Rick, because of course you have a honours degree from the University of London in philosophy.
Yes, but I predict that one will also be as big a load of bollocks as all the others we've done. Thank you.
Just to remind you that you can still get the Ricky Gervais Guide to Medicine, the Ricky Gervais Guide to Natural History, and now, of course, the Ricky Gervais Guide to the Arts.
To be born English is to win first prize in the lottery of life. So said Cecil Rhodes, one of the grandfathers of British imperialism. At its height, the British Empire ruled over 1/4 of the world's population and consequently exported Englishness to the furthest reaches of the globe. But what is Englishness? Is it stiff upper lips and fair play, village greens and tea and crumpets? And who are the English? Are we defined by a shared heritage, a common set of beliefs, by the language of Shakespeare? Or in a multicultural modern age, when more languages are spoken in England than in any other country in Europe, do we need to develop a new view of what it means to be English? To discuss and define the nature and characteristics of the English, I'm joined by Stephen Merchant, graduate of the University of Warwick, an award-winning writer.
Thank you for having me.
And Carl Pilkington, a man who, by his own admission, didn't go to school, has no qualifications.
Mention the head, talk about the head.
I'm just trying to get to the point that he's not qualified in anything, or really has no authority in any subject, or hasn't got the right to it.
Talk about the head.
And he was known the world over as a man who has a head like a fucking orange.
Right.
I think one thing that's very English is harping back and whinging combined. People saying, oh, England used to be better in my day, oh, England was better when I was a kid, England was better in the 50s or whatever. Carl, do you think England's better now? Are you happier now than you were when you were a kid?
Do you feel that life was better in, say, the 1950s?
I don't know, I wasn't around.
So but you understand what it was like in those days? You've seen happy days.
I don't know, people always say, don't they? Old people always say, oh, you know, it's a better life in the 50s. And he's like, yeah, it was for them. Of course it was for them. They're old now. Being old isn't great, is it? So you're just happy with your lot. I suppose I was happiest in about 1984.
Quite a specific year.
Why? Why was that?
It's just I was free and happy.
How old were you?
I don't know.
He's just counting on his fingers now.
12.
Right, okay.
And it was just good.
So the happiest days of your life were between the age of 12 and 13?
Yeah, it was good. I had the world ahead of me.
Little did you know your hair was going to fall out and you were going to whinge every minute of the day.
I had my bike. I like messing about my bike. You had your mates. I had a pet magpie.
So you were probably the teenager that you eventually hate?
Probably.
Were you a good lad, law-abiding?
I wasn't bad. I just sort of, you know, just potted about. I mean, when people talk about what was on the telly back then, I don't have that much memory of it because I was always out. I was always playing out.
What were you doing when you were out?
Just playing about, just like on a bike or...
Just riding in a circle endlessly through blizzards,
I loved it.
rain, sleet,
Loved
hail.
I never seemed to be in. I was always... When everyone always goes, where were you when Band-Aid was happening? I was always out on my bike. and everything was
Like
like
you and McGregor.
a memory's always sort of like coming in for some orange and looking at the telly and seeing Princess Diana's getting married, and my mum says, have you seen this? And I'm going, oh, I'm going out on my bike. I was always doing that. The only time I was in the house.
This is why you don't know anything, because you never stopped.
Yeah, but this is what being a kid's about. That's
All
what
the
I mean, being
information you
free.
have, Carl, is as though you've gleaned it as you raced by on a bike. It's almost like, every piece of information you have.
Your hair blowing in the wind. Carl, your hair will blow out one day. Oh, don't talk stupid, ma'am.
So yeah, 12 to 13 was good.
But you see,
And it was all downhill from then, was it?
13 is your teenager then, aren't you? Life got tough.
Yeah. How did it get tough?
Just straight away when I was 13, my mum was like, oh, it's your 13th birthday, you're a teenager now.
Right.
And she gave us a quid to go and get a cake to celebrate it. Went to the supermarket, got a cake, and I just thought, I don't like the look of this. Don't like the look of the way the future is here.
On his 13th birthday!
you were buying a cake. What did you see at the supermarket?
Just, it was kind of like, I don't know, I suddenly felt grown up. I didn't like it.
But I think you were always about 58, really, with your outlook.
Well, yeah, my mum always said I was old. She said I was an old baby. She said I could frown before I could walk. So I always had a bit of a worried look on my face. Didn't say much, just always listened. My eyes moved about more than I did. Just sat there looking around, looking stressed.
My eyes moved about more than I did. Oh dear, I couldn't walk. Well, I can't walk, but I'll try and get a bit of movement in my face. It's a workout, a baby workout. Oh, babies, well, if you can't walk, what about your face? Let your face do the walking.
It sounds like that horror film. It sounds like Pilkington's Baby.
Yeah.
Just you lying there in your cot.
I didn't like all the stuff that's set up for you. Like, my mum tried to send me to, like, a nursery. I said, no, I'm not having this.
Just like that.
I said when I'm older and I've got to go, I'll go, but let's leave out this bit. And she said, alright. She was,
I love the fact he could reason with her. I love him, he's 3 years old with a pipe. She's going, you go to the nurse, she goes, I think not, mum.
I mean, kids don't play out, do they? Kids, parents are scared to let the kids play out, and that's why the streets are dangerous now. Because no one's playing out on the streets. Whereas when I was a kid, everyone was out on the streets were safer. Because there was more people knocking about.
Right.
Let the kids play out.
It must be like a constant, like a Larry painting, his front garden, do you know what I mean? Just loads of people just
There was
walking
never any
around.
problems. I was sort of taken away by some fella.
Whoa. Yeah,
But my dad's mate, Tony,
yeah.
he did tiling with him. He drove past. And he saw me looking a bit fed up, so he just leant over, picked me up, took me to the pub. Now the thing is, there wasn't panic. People weren't going, oh God, where's Carl gone?
He's out.
Just.
How old were you?
He's down in the pub.
Yeah,
He's 4 years old. Yeah. Well, he's only having a.
He's down the pub with Tony, probably playing darts.
Yeah, I was about 3 or 4.
Sorry, so some bloke drives by who happens to be a friend of your dad's, thinks that baby looks grumpy.
Yeah.
I'm taking him down to the pub.
That's what it was
Tony,
like.
you bringing the baby to the pub? Yeah, I might do. Yeah, we're bringing ours. All right, see you later, mate.
But that's what I'm saying. Whereas now they go, the baby's gone. There's a big full-on panic going
Yeah, but
on.
I think it says more about your parents. They didn't do that. They looked over the back car and you were gone. Some bloke's driving off in a van. They're just going, doesn't Princess Diana look lovely? This is absurd. So what happened when you got down the pub?
I just was there for a bit, and then
For a bit, just had a game of pool.
my dad came in. He was like, oh, there you are.
Oh, there you are! I love that! Where's my baby? I'm just going to have a quick pint now. There you are. All right, mate.
So, yeah, I think things were better back then.
Rick, as you hinted at in your introduction, the idea of Englishness and England, it's quite a vague term, isn't it? You can play loose and fast with it. I mean, for instance, I was looking at some quotes about England, and John Major, former Prime Minister, he typified England as being a place of long shadows on county cricket grounds, warm beer, invincible green suburbs, dog lovers, and old maids bicycling through the morning mist. Very specific vision of England.
But he never came to the estate that I was born on,
Sure.
or Carl was. You know what I mean? I think I know of that. If we go for a walk around Richmond, we see people playing cricket on the village green, and it's lovely. But I don't know if it's typical. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where most people live. But in a way, that's 50-50, isn't it, in cities and in the country? But that's wealthy country.
But that's, interestingly, that's the vision of England that people like to subscribe to. When you buy your nan a box of biscuits for Christmas from Harrods, that's the image of England that's on
why,
the
am I,
front.
why am I spending money at Harrods on my nan? Why can't I just? She's happy with sort of like broken custard creams.
You've earned a bit of money now.
Well, I
what's
know,
wrong
but
with that?
they don't need to know that. I mean, also, both my grandmothers are dead, so it'd be.
Sorry to put that up.
Well, no, but I mean, who buys who spends good money at Harrods on biscuits where she just suck 'em and eat the Garibaldis and leave? I mean, I don't know why I'm wasting money on the elderly.
I worry that you've taken that too literally. I was trying to get to making more of a point, like an analogy, but I don't shop at Harrods.
Right.
Please, I don't. I mean, I might, get some Easter eggs.
Well,
2 days after Easter.
Well, what do you think of this then? We were in Fortnum and Masons after Christmas, and all the crackers were half price.
Good idea.
And there was a box of crackers for 500 quid, down to 250 quid. And I thought, right, that's got to be the best prizes anyone's ever seen. I'm going to get Cartier watches in these things. So we bought 250 quid. I thought, oh, it's a bargain. It's half price. Got them home, pulled a couple, and there was a little notebook, right, that said wine notes. That's one.
What?
Wine notes. So you drink a bottle of wine and
you make a note.
Make a note of it, right? There was another one that had something that it was like opera notes or something, and then there was one for travel notes, like what country you been. I'm thinking, what world are these crackers for? Who's putting a cracker and going, I needed it. I filled up my wine notebook. It's like
500 quid?
yeah. I mean,
For some little notebooks?
yeah, I mean, if you'd have paid 500 quid, I mean, I don't know who buys those. I assume they're for presents.
And
But I
it's
mean-
probably the absurd, cliched Toffington Englishman
Yeah.
who has no sense anymore of any sense of worth of anything, and it's just a crazy, snotty-nosed inbreeding.
There was a silver-plated like mussel, like the clam, the mussel, right? When you eat mussels, you scoop them out with an open mussel.
Sure.
There's a silver-plated one.
Who carries that with them?
You get that out. You go, mussels, good. I brought it with me. My silver-plated mussel to eat mussels.
I'm right, this wine's delicious, let me make a note. That's absurd. Again, it's
Yeah.
interesting you say that, because those are little images of what we would like England to be, aren't they? They're pandering to that image of what we'd all like to be, that sort of upper-class English person who's worried about fine wine and good food. And again, I mean, does this England still exist? I'm presuming there's a small minority that does.
Well, there are some people that are in that world that are posher than the royal family.
Yeah.
I can understand what the Queen and Prince Charles are saying, but there are some people. What? And I don't know what they're talking about either.
Well, I was never really aware of class and the English class system until I went to university.
Absolutely.
I became aware of it then.
Absolutely right. When I got to university and everyone sort of spoke like royalty, that's when I discovered I was probably working class.
But when I hear those people who do actually speak in that kind of, oh, Jeff, that sort of absurd, oh, rugger, oh, you absolute bloody bastard.
What though? I don't mind the mega posh people. I don't mind that. Ah, bloody hell, yeah, of course, take one. I don't mind one of those. What I don't like is the ones that stand around in all bar one with a rugby shirt with a collar up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those who are going to work in the city,
Yeah.
and they're loud and think they're gentry,
Yeah.
but they're not. It's that middle bit that annoys me more. They've got that confidence, but without any of the charm.
But that's the England that I think people think of when they think of it. It's the 4 weddings and a funeral England, and yet it's not the England I experienced and grew up in. So, what is your typical image of an Englishman now?
If I had to draw it for an alien,
Yeah.
He'd be quite squat, quite sturdy, sort of no neck, hairy.
Are you just thinking of yourself?
Do you know what? It would be my build with Carl's head.
Really?
And no neck, yeah. I think he's sort of balding and unshaven, and he's like a shaved caveman. I think he's tough. He'd have tats. He'd eat like a dog.
A Ray Winston type.
A sort of, yeah, that sort of
he's
Bob
so-
Hoskins, just squat, strong, tough, doesn't take any messing, built like a giant wombat.
It's the bulldog breed.
It is the bulldog breed. I am thinking of the bulldog breed, yeah.
See, now my image of an Englishman is essentially that cliched one. It is, I think, Hugh Grant.
So you're modern, you're straight away modern
or
now.
I would say it's either mixed between Hugh Grant and Roger Moore when he was James Bond.
You see,
know what I mean?
that's another small percentage of Englishness that sort of annoys me. Those people that think they're James Bond. They think they can buy a suit and read GQ, and they're suave and sophisticated, and they get cars they can't afford. Or what they basically do, the people who think they're James Bond, all they do is work in a bank, come home, and flick through GQ at the adverts, looking at people with wearing watches and aftershave. Who wears aftershave?
Do you wear aftershave, Carl?
Normally, aftershave is the sort of thing I let other people buy me. It's like underpants, tea towels, and sort of aftershave and that. Other people buying me.
Who's buying you tea towels?
My mum.
Right,
My mum,
okay.
every time she turns up, she's got Brilla pads and stuff. I've got loads of them. I keep saying to her, I don't need any of this, but she always brings a box full of stuff. Brilla pads, tea towels, underpants. The underpants size hasn't gone up since I was 14. But I can rely on her for that.
So do you not have anything in your life which you would think of as being gentlemanly? Do you ever dress smartly? What about suits?
I bought one suit that time when you invited me to the BAFTAs. That's the only suit. I wore it for the BAFTAs. I think I wore it for one other thing. I haven't wore it since. I don't feel comfortable. It's not me.
But don't you go to a
That'd be a
wedding?
lovely advert, wouldn't it? Him with a suit on going, I haven't wore it since. Carl Pilkington hasn't wore it since.
I don't go to weddings.
wedding.
No, I don't like going to them.
I agree.
I mean, even though you know them, they don't give you any time when you're there, do they? It's just sort of, they don't know whether you're there or not. They're on cloud nine. They don't know who's around. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. You don't need
It's
to
all,
be there.
with them, on wedding day, it's all me, isn't it?
Oh, what are they like?
I know, unbelievable.
You don't even get to make a speech, do you?
Although I know you were annoyed, Steve. Steve doesn't like to part with money. I don't know what the politically correct term is. Stingy cunt, isn't he? He's fucking mean. Right? And if he ever has to spend out on like a wedding gift to someone he's known, all his life, he'll look down the list and he'll find things under £25. Then if he bothers spending that much, he's furious when an usher goes, just stick it there.
Oh, it drives me insane. Well, firstly, I'm annoyed about the wedding list. I don't know when that's come along, because I don't know why I can't just bring maybe something I've made at home. No. Why has there got to be a list of stuff?
What newly married bride doesn't want a pair of homemade clogs?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And then you arrive there and it's just, oh, thanks very much, stick it on the table. But saying that, I think people very much appreciate you being at their wedding.
No,
They do. They remember if you were there.
No, I do not.
They do.
Yeah.
You don't get invited to weddings because you ain't got any mates.
No, I know enough people. Everyone's getting married. But they're always in the middle of nowhere.
That annoys me when people say, come to our wedding. Yeah, fine, we're in Greece.
Yeah.
Well, no, down the road. I might make it down the road for the reception.
Yeah.
What? You want me to book a holiday and come to your wedding?
Well, the thing that drives me insane when you do go is when they put you on a table with people you don't know.
Well,
I've got all my mates there, and they put because I've got to mingle with some people. I don't care. I need these.
But that's what I'm not good at. Talking to people once. Talking to people who you don't know.
No.
What sort of stuff would you make conversation about at a wedding?
I'd probably say, first of all, how do you know them? How do you know the people getting married? And then, do you think it'll last?
Imagine inviting Carl Pilkington to it and going, where should we put him? Oh, I don't know. Is there a table for one? Oh, just
You'd be on the table with the kids.
Imagine being stuck with Carl Pilkington at a wedding. Yeah, what else? So you've asked them to think it'll last. They've gone, I'm sorry? Who are you? Carl Pilkington from Manchester. Right. Yes, we think it'll last. What else would you ask? So what's your next? You know he's going badly. They're sort of like looking down their nose at you. They're thinking, why did they invite this bald-headed scum?
There's just the last wedding I went to. It's going back a couple of years, but everyone seems a bit snidey. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got a mixture of families there, haven't you?
Yeah.
And none of them really like each other.
No.
And I got stuck with an old fellow who had a flatulence problem.
That sounds fun.
And then he went on to say it doesn't matter, the suit's hired. And it's just kind of...
I'm gonna die! I
just don't like him.
I love it. He's basically saying at a wedding, it doesn't matter if I shit myself. To be born English is to win first prize in the lottery of life. So what do you think of that, Carl?
Maybe it's that thing that I don't appreciate what I've got. But to me, being English isn't anything that great.
Really?
Why not?
Because it's just what I've been dealt with.
But what would you, I know you know nothing about the world.
You've travelled nowhere. You've seen nothing.
Yeah. But if you could be any nationality, what would you be and why?
Probably be Italian.
Okay, why?
Well, just yeah, I like the idea of it. I like Italians are alright.
Where would you live? Rome?
I probably wouldn't want to be in the middle of Rome. It's too much hassle.
Have you been to Rome?
Yeah, it's nice to visit and stuff, but it's just I wouldn't want to live there. You've got to get paperwork done and that if you just want to put a picture up, because everything's old, everything's listed.
He's only been Italian about 3 minutes and he's already slagging it off.
He's already
No,
whinging.
but I like Rome.
Yeah.
It's good. A lot of old stuff.
Why have you chosen Italy? I'm interested to know why of all the countries you've chosen Italy.
I was a late comer to pasta.
But it's won you round.
I like it now. It's like one of my favourite things I have.